we are getting into business, ethics, and what it costs when people actually get it wrong. Today, I have my two friends with me. Introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Demi. I'm a clinical research coordinator in public health. I manage clinical research studies and that has everything to do with ethics.
Thank you, Demi. My name is Chelsea. I'm a chartered accountant working in the auditing field, and we can't do any part of our job without ethics and compliance.
Thank you for being here. Let's get started. So, our first question is, where does chasing profit cross the line into being unethical? Is there anyone that would like to kick us off?
I'll take this one.
Sure, go for it.
So, in the auditing field, most companies, it's mandatory for them to be audited, right? What this means for the companies that they have a guaranteed revenue coming in at a guaranteed rate. Where I think it's unethical is that sometimes the rates that they are paying their employees is quite low. And then they also have to work a lot because in audit there's a lot of deadlines. And this causes the employees to work really hard, work overtime, work their public holidays. And there's almost this toxic environment of people bragging about how much they are working. So people are overworked, but they're still being paid really low rates. And I mean, the companies are making profit, but the people that are bringing this profit are the employees. So I think that when we pay our employees less, we are making a greater profit, but I don't think it's quite ethical. So that's what this means to me. Who's up next?
I can answer. I can definitely add to that. So in public health, we have to say that chasing profit crosses the margin of being unethical is where we collect our data from participants in these communities, and the information that we collect and the public knowledge that we gain from this isn't relayed back to that specific community. So all the research papers that we develop, the community doesn't know what's happening at the end of the day. They don't know what the results are or what ailments they would possibly have or not have in some cases. And I think that it's unethical that this information isn't relayed back to these communities. And in some ways, they do try and give some information back, but it's not the full picture where we can actually assist these communities at the end of the day.
That's actually quite interesting that you actually say that. So what I've actually picked up is that in your scenario, the participants was obviously the important part of the whole ethics dilemma, and on your side is the employees. For me, it's also the users of the website that I'm currently developing, which is for actually the healthcare sector. So for me, where the line actually gets a bit blurry between profit and becoming a little bit unethical is when the rules get made by higher ups, right? So I'm building apps that's going to be used, for claims. You're going to claim back from your medical aid, and then sometimes it becomes a whole headache, right? You are standing in the queue for your children's hospital bills. You're standing in queues for dentists and all of that stuff. And you have to jump through all these loops and everything just to get a claim back or just to get feedback back. So for me, the business rules that are currently being made by people that's higher up, it's probably people that has never been in those users.
Can I add something? Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
I definitely see how that can blur some of the ethics boundaries where someone that's not actively participating in this website, the application is making the rules for it, and it kind of made me think, has there ever been a time where you had to push back on the boundaries or something you didn't agree with, and how did you go about doing that?
Actually, yes, I did. And this one actually is quite close to my heart, actually. I did push back on it as a feminist. So let me just give some context into the development world. So every time we get a feature, a screen that we need to build, the requirements are structured in the Word documentation, and it will say what the requirements are, what the business rules are that we need to adhere to, etc., all of that. And then we obviously need to develop accordingly. And one of the business rules was that if your dependent is of the age 12 and older, they can be classified as a husband, a wife, a spouse, any kind of actual spousal relationship, which I felt is far too young. I don't know what the South African rules and regulations are, but I mean, in the healthcare sector, I was like, that can't be right. Like, maybe it's 21, maybe it's backwards. I go to the product owner and I ask her, like, hey, is this correct? Like, how are we letting this happen? And she's like, it's being like that. That is the business rule, and it is legal. Like, but I feel so uncomfortable actually developing this. And as I was developing, there was just this bitter taste in my mouth, just thinking one day someone is going to add a child on medical aid, and they're going to be 12, and they're going to classify the child as their husband or wife. And I was like, I developed that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sit well with my soul.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I can say something. So in the public health sector, we have enrollment targets that we have to reach before the study before we start with enrollment. And there's maybe 100 or 1,000 participants we have to enroll before a specific date. And I've seen quite unethical ways of recruiting participants into the study, which is always done in a rushed manner. Towards the end, when the deadline is near, we have to get people as soon as possible. And there's been occurrences that I obviously cannot mention on this podcast, but there are situations where I've just questioned, like, was that the correct manner of going about it? Did you make sure that the participant was even excited to be part of the study? Did they know what was happening in the study? Like, are they actually agreeing to be part of this? Like, is that the way things are happening here? And I would ask questions, and I would just be like, no, that's just the way it is. And
deadlines must be met.
Deadlines have to be met no matter what happens, And I felt like that was quite frustrating, because you realize that things when you enter a study as a coordinator, you are also expected to know what is happening. And when I saw what was happening and I didn't have as much influence as I thought I did, that was quite frustrating for me. And even with the pushback that I tried or asked the correct questions, it was just like, no, this is how things happen. So
Yeah.
Well done on pushing back on those ones, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on episode 1. Any final thoughts?
Yes, I just think that good, honest business always wins. Be good to your employees, be good to your customers, and remember why you started this in the first place.
Never let urgency of a study override consent of participants that are contributing to these studies.
I would say both things, and optimize it specifically for the end users and not necessarily just going with the flow of how things used to be. And also make it simplistic to actually explain to the user that is actually using it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for staying tuned for episode 1. In episode 2, it does get quite juicy. We will be talking about the building of AI. Let's go! Woo! Let's get ethical. I wanna get ethical. Let's get into ethics, yeah. Let's get into AI.